Hey, this is Carl with NewSeptic.net. I'm going to go over today how you can design a spray system with NewSeptic.net, and this is a spray system for on-site sewage treatment. To get started, I'm going to use the Quick Start form, and I was given an address by a contractor who wants me to get a spray system designed. So I've typed out this address, I'm going to copy it and paste it into NewSeptic. You can type that right into that box there. And what NewSeptic is doing is it's getting a latitude and longitude for this address, and it's looking for that latitude and longitude in our parcel database. And it looks like it found a hit for Medina County, and it pulled up a 2 acreage parcel. And it said, we did find parcel data, is this correct? And I'll click yes. So NewSeptic has given us the parcel ID, the county, the owner's name, and the township, all based off of just one input of the address. So what I'm going to do is it's asking us is to change any of this information. So I'm going to abbreviate the address because I know it looks a lot better on the end report. And I'm going to type in the new owner's name that's contracting with me to get this done. So I'm going to click Enter Soil Conditions now. So NewSeptic has saved this project off. And at this point, you can click the Enter Full Soil Information, or you can click Get Options for Treatment. NewSeptic provides you with some default core data that we need to get a project started for designing a system. And that's really your flow rate and your loading rates to the soil and any limiting conditions that we found in the soil. The limiting conditions and the loading rates can be oftentimes found on the soil report. Now, this is the soil report I received for this property. And as you can see, the loading rates aren't on this, but the limiting condition depths are. So I'm going to go ahead, because it's a spray system, I'm not too concerned with the loading rates, because really we're just going to be applying the water to the soil, highly treated water, and we're just going to have to make sure we meet a minimum required square footage. So I know this is a 3-bedroom home, it's a new home, and from that soil report, I can see that the worst soil was test hole 1, and it looks like a 6-inch limiting condition to the perch seasonal water table. So I'm going to set the perch seasonal water to equal 6, and you can use the tab button and tab over. And I know that all the other limiting conditions were set to greater than 50 on the soil report. So I'm satisfied with all the information here, the slope and the loading rates. I'm just going to keep those the same for now and click Get Options for Treatment. You can always go back and add in additional soil report data by clicking here, or navigating back to your projects by clicking on the logo. And then you can always navigate back to the design page to get this page here that we're looking at. So what I like to do is I like to hover over the NewSeptic mapping application, and I right click and I say open in a new tab. So that will open the mapping application. And as you can see, NewSeptic has brought up some core details here that we want to look at when we're designing a septic system. It's brought up the contour lines, the parcel lines. It's drawn a 10-foot buffer and a 50-foot buffer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the 10-foot buffer, because right now what we're focused on is getting this spray system on the property. And as I can see, the east side of the property looks like the land slopes down to the east side. So the west side, it looks like there's a hilltop up here, just reading the contour lines that are on the property. And I'm going to turn on the local aerial image just to get a kind of snapshot view of what's going on. So the owner had told me that the existing house is going to be demolished, and he is going to put a new house right where that foundation was, basically. So what I'm going to do is click Draw a House. And I'm going to click on this tool, and this is basically a Polygon draw tool. And as you click on the map, one single click, it'll add a vertex. And as you double click, it'll finish the drawing. So what I'm going to do is add a label. I'm going to say new 3-bedroom dwelling and click Save Label. I'm going to turn off the aerial image. So now I can see that that's off now. It's a little bit funky, and I can edit the vertices as I click on those and pull those to my desired location. So what I'm going to do next is I have to put a spray pattern on here. And if I navigate back to this tab, I have my design options. And as I can see, the mound system, the spray system, and leaching trenches were all brought up here. And what NewSeptic does is we look at the flow rate, the limiting conditions in the soil, and the loading rates, and we generate options for you. And whether these are valid options or not really ultimately lies with the county, but we will tell you whether we think it is or not. But if we do not think it's a valid option, we will just tell you to verify it with the county, because we want you to design a system. Sometimes there are very unique situations where the county will allow you to design a system. So we don't want to prevent you from that happening. So we will let you go ahead and design a leaching trench for that. But you must know that, you have to know what you're doing in those situations. But so for this situation, we're designing a spray, so I'll click Design Plan. And I know that we're going to design for this contractor a wastewater solution spray system. Now you can check out the different spray head configurations, different spray options here. You can click on this button, and here are the spray head units that NewSeptic has in the database. So right now we have the Norweco spray head unit and the wastewater solutions spray head. They call it the spray rain head. So what we're going to do is design with the spray rain. So what I'll do is I know that wastewater solutions deals with the hydro action. So I'll open the tank, the pretreatment change tank button, and that will bring up the dialog button and dialog window here for tanks. And I can start typing the tank name of hydroaction, and it'll find that for me. So I'm going to select that and save that. So now we have our hydroaction selected. I'm going to change the dose tank. I'm going to select, I'm going to start typing the distributor name, Wastewater Solutions. So here I have the total filter list. I'm going to type in, I'm going to select the 1,500 gallon tank and save that. So NewSeptic will often report things to you that it's checked, like it checked that the dose tank is adequately sized. It's always checking every time you make a change regarding the pressure network, like if you remove fittings, it will track that in your end design plan and actually redo the pump and all the pressure calculations, the time dosing calculations, everything. So that's one of the powers of NewSeptic is we're constantly updating the pressure network calculations. And say, if you have to change the force main at some point, basically to redesign the system, you would have to go back and redo a lot of different things if you didn't have NewSeptic. But since you have NewSeptic, you can just change it here, and NewSeptic will get a new pump for that application. And it'll also get a new list of pumps that would also work additionally. So definitely a big, powerful feature for NewSeptic. So what I'm going to do now is change the spray configuration. So with NewSeptic, we have all the nozzles for these spray heads. The different nozzles, and why this can be kind of complex, is there's a lot of information to digest here. But basically what you need to know is the nozzle, all you need to know is the particular spray head you're choosing. Like we're using the spray rain from Wastewater Solutions. And you need to kind of look at this radius here. So a radius of 34 foot, if I select this one, now for a 360 gallon per day flow rate, the total at a radius of 34 foot, the total arc required to meet the minimum square footage for the distribution area is 286. So if I would change this 34-foot radius spray head to something, say, lower, like a 29-foot radius, then we can see that the total required arc goes up. So as you lower the radius, the total arc required goes up, and as you increase the radius, the total arc goes down. So if we want to keep our arc approximately at 360 degrees, like if we're using one spray head, I can start to select some of the lower radiuses and see what we come up with. So at 32-foot radius, we're coming up with a 324 foot or 324 degree required arc, and that's definitely satisfies our particular application. So I'm going to go ahead and set the first spray head to 360 degrees, and that meets the criteria. So I'm going to save this off. And NewSeptic, like I said, it checks the pressure calculations, and it goes and gets the proper pump for this application. It's done that. So there's only a few more really crucial areas to fill in here. You know, we have the force main length and the static lift. And the static lift is generated by the level readings that you might take on site. Maybe you're doing differential leveling, or you're getting the differences in elevation based on another method. But what NewSeptic does is we give you a level readings form specifically tailored to each system type and your particular application. So here you can see we have one spray head, we have two tanks, and we have our house here. Now NewSeptic is telling us that at a 120-foot force main, we required 1.25 foot of fall to equal 1% to get it back to the dose tank. Now, you can possibly put it less than 1%. I've had contractors say that you really only need it to be as far as surface water drains or different criteria other than the 1% rule. So, but NewSeptic calculates it on 1% based on the fact that this is a wastewater system and there might be some particulates in it, and having a 1% slope back would be a good idea. So I'm going to close this for now. I'm going to go back to the map, and now I'm going to lay out a 32-foot spray radius. But first, before I do that, I want to use the measure tool, and I'm going to click on that measure tool, and I'm going to come to the map, and I'm going to draw from the corner of the house, I'm going to draw 50 foot. So as I'm pulling it, I clicked once, and as I pull it over, it's showing me the measurement in feet. So I'm going to get approximately 50 foot or 50 foot if I can do that. So it looks like it's approximately 50 foot. So this is going to give me an idea that the spray radius itself has to be 50 foot from the house and 50 foot from the parcel line. So as I can see, NewSeptic had drawn out that 50-foot buffer from the parcel line. So that's already present. And now all I have to do is click on the Add Spray Zone tool, and that's going to bring up this similar dialog window that we saw before. And it has all the nozzles once again. So I'm going to navigate down to that 32-foot radius nozzle, select that, and I'm going to type in my 360-degree arc, add spray zone, and as we can see, NewSeptic drew that for us on the map. So what I'm going to do is try and fit this as close to the 50-foot boundaries as I can, and here I have that drawn right like that. So what I'm going to do now is zoom in a little bit. And now what I'm going to do is I have to draw the tanks and the force main and the sewer main. So NewSeptic has broken all these components down for you into separate tools. And the reason that that's good, instead of just maybe having an individual pipe tool or a line tool, you don't have to label these or style them. NewSeptic styles the color of the sewer main is by default red, and the force main is by default green. So these are different color codes that you can just register, and they automatically mean something to contractors when they're out. So what we're going to do is I'm going to place the tanks first. I'm going to click on because this is a spray system, it requires a high level of pre-treatment. I'm going to click on the pre button, and that will bring up the pre-treatment dialog, and basically asking us select a pre-treatment system. I'm going to type in the hydro action, and because this is a spray system, it requires a UV light. And what NewSeptic determines that as a pre-treatment level 2, basically. You're disinfecting the water as well, as opposed to a pre-treatment level 1. So I'm going to select that. And what NewSeptic has dropped on the map is a 500-gallon septic tank and a 500-gallon per day hydro action system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these together, and we're going to build a treatment train. So what a treatment train is maybe many contractors may know this. It's a term common to the industry, and this just means that of all these products here are going to, treat the water to us, and it's in a specific order, and that's how this is going to be done. So if you have multiple components that you want to move around the map, you can select one of them, and then if you hold the shift button down, you can select additional components. If I can, sometimes it's they overlap too much, so I think that's what happened in this case. But if I move them out a little bit and hold shift and then select again, that way we can move these as one. So I saw that the land was sloping to the east. I'm going to put the tanks as far to the east as I can. And what I'm going to do is put those a little bit down further, and then click off the map. Click on the side of the map or side of the drawings just to deselect those. That's a pretty common thing you'll do for NewSeptic's mapping application. So you always click off to the side and it deselects that. So now I'm going to add a dose tank. I'm going to click the DT button. I'm going to start typing wastewater solutions and select the 1,500-gallon tank. So NewSeptic has all the tank dimensions. Basically, these are all in the database, and all of these will be drawn to those dimensions. So it's kind of handy feature of NewSeptic. So what I'm going to do is click on the sewer main tool, and now that I've selected that, I can start to draw the sewer main. I'm just going to put the sewer main coming from the east side of the house because that's where we're going to be coming from with the system, and hopefully we can get this to the builder as soon as we can, because that'll convey to the plumbers that they need to come out, of that side of the house. And as you draw these different components, NewSeptic starts to add the field measurements, add them to your field measurements. And what this window is designed to do is NewSeptic will draw the component or put the component on here, tell you what we mapped it as, the measurement in feet, and then allow you to add a field measurement for the label. Because the end goal is to have as accurate measurements as possible. You might go out to the field and say you pull tape or use a total station or some other measurement tool that will get you to your degree of accuracy that you need to go to. So I like to round up, so I would put like 36 there, just as a preliminary thing. So now that we have our treatment train built, we have our sewer main, you can certainly add what we call distribution main piping in between the tanks, but as far as I'm concerned, this is a preliminary drawing, and additionally, it's pretty much understood that if you have your treatment train on the map, then it's assumed that those pipes, there will be pipes connecting those tanks, obviously, because it wouldn't work otherwise. So I'm going to leave those distribution mains off of there, and I'm going to click on the force main pipe. Now I've selected the force main pipe tool, I can start to click on the map on the dose tank. I'm going to start there, and I'm just going to drag it to the center of the spray zone and just double click. And that completed the force main, and I can open up the field measurement window, and I can see it measured at 44.8. I like to add a little bit of length to the force main because there are things like the inside of the dose tank requires a little bit of piping, so I like to just round it up to a nice even number. I'll put 50 there and save that. And basically, you don't want to undershoot that. You just want to make it a little bit over. That way, when you calculate the pressure network, you'll know for sure it's going to work really good. So here the spray zone is calculated, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add a replacement area, and that's really easy with NewSeptic. You can just click this RE button under the replacements, under the spray zone, and it'll generate a replacement area for you of equal size. So I'm just going to butt this right up to here and click on the map. So now we have basically our treatment train. In a nutshell, we have our spray zone, our replacement area, we have our treatment train, force main, sewer main, and we have our measurements showing our 50-foot isolation distances. You can add different features to it. You can add a benchmark, you can add a water well, you can add hardscapes, and that's it in a nutshell. You can add soil boundaries if you needed to show the county where a particular soil boundary was. NewSeptic has other tools like export points. Everything you draw, every component you draw on the map, you can export those points. That's can be covered in another demonstration. So I'm happy with this. I should have saved this a little bit earlier because I try and save my map a lot, but if I just hit Control S, that'll save the map. And I should do that more often because for whatever reason, if you close this down or whatever, it would lose that information. So I'll click the Go to Print View. And this is the print view with NewSeptic is where you want to set your labels and make sure everything looks good. Select your print format. I can see that this particular parcel is has more length on the width wise than the actual the depth of the property. So I'll click the landscape print view, and that should be more suitable for this particular property. And on the side here, NewSeptic actually selects the scale of 1 inch equals 50 foot by default. You can select other preset settings, 1 inch equals 30 or 1 inch equals 100. It looks to me that this particular application that maybe a 1 inch equals 30 would work, so I'll try that. It looks like it put it out a little bit outside of the edge of the boundary of the map, so I'm going to set it back to 1 inch equals 50. We do this just for ease of the whole construction of your map. If you could set it to different scales, it doesn't really matter, I think, to a lot of septic contractors. All you really care about is it at a 1 inch equals 50, because that's really the requirements for a lot of the counties and states. So now what I'm going to do is save the layout, and what we need to do is start setting the location of these individual labels. NewSeptic right now doesn't really take that into consideration. So as you can see, the labels are just thrown all in there and it looks like a mess. And what we need to do is clean that up. So you can click on the edit labels. And as we said before, NewSeptic, one of the good parts of NewSeptic is it breaks all the individual components out into their separate tools, and it labels them, color codes them, and really all you have to do is kind of set their styling of the labels later on. So I like to start with the tanks, and I like to start with the first one. So I'll select the 500-gallon septic tank. I'll move it to the left of the tank, and I'll try and put it at a 45-degree angle. By default, it selects the font and font size, and it sets the color to blue because we think it looks really nice on this type of map. So I'll save this off. And as you can see, the septic tank label is at a nice 45-degree angle, and it's blue, and it's got a nice white outline, and it looks pretty nice on this. So I'm going to click Edit Labels again, and I'm just going to go to the next tank, the Hydro Action, do the same thing. I'm going to hit it to the left and do a 45-degree angle, and that looks pretty good. It's right up in there with the septic tank. I'm going to do the same thing for the dose tank. So I can see here that the dose tank is a little bit kind of close to the Hydro Action label. You can tweak this a little bit by selecting the tank again. And what you can do is you can set these offset X and Y. Now this is a little bit clunky, and I know we need to fix this up a little bit, but by entering numbers in here like plus and minus numbers, you can move the label around, and we're going to change this, make this interface a little bit nicer, but for now I'll just show you, like, if you edit the offset Y, what that would do. So it moved it to the left a little bit. So I'm going to go and select that again, select the dose tank, and I'm going to move it the opposite direction by hitting a negative. I'm going to do -10, see where that puts it. So it put it out to the far right a little bit. And as I can see, it looks a lot nicer, I think. And I think I should do the same for the Hydro Action maybe, because it's right on top of the actual circle itself, and it's kind of hard to see because it's small. But I'm going to try and do that with the X on this one, and I'm going to try and move it up. So I think I can do a -5. Yeah, and that moved it up a little bit, so you can actually see the tank. And I'll do the same for the septic tank. So maybe I can move the septic tank a little out. So I think that looks a lot better, and I'm going to keep it that way. And what I can do now is start labeling the force main and sewer main. So I can just do sewer main. I'm going to try that to the left at 45-degree angle. I think that would make that look pretty nice. And I'm going to try with the force main, I'm going to put that off to the right at a 45. And see where that gets me. Okay, it moved it down. It's a little confusing and it's hard to do sometimes. So I'm going to adjust that a little bit. So instead of a 45, I'm going to do the opposite, 225, and then I'll put it up there. Okay, so I'm happy with this. I'm going to actually move the spray head label. I'm going to tilt that a little bit to the left and see where it looks like that. And I'll move it down a little bit. So okay, that moved it up in the opposite direction. like I said, we're going to continually try and update this and make it look a lot easier, make it a lot easier to edit this stuff. But so for now, this looks pretty good to me as a just preliminary map. And what you can do is the title up top is auto-generated by NewSeptic. You can definitely edit this and make it look however you want, but I'm pretty satisfied with this. And if you want to show a legend on your map, you can click this little checkbox here. I'm going to save the layout, and I'm going to click print PDF of map. So this generates a PDF of the map. It has the title on the top. It has our drawn components with our labeling, and we have our 1 inch equals 50 scale and our GIS legend. So if you wanted to check this scale out, you can, and Adobe Reader has this measure tool. So you can click on that, and if you select the measuring tool, you can select the parcel, click on the parcel line, and if you drag it over here, you can see 1 inch is definitely at the 50-foot buffer that we have selected here. So this is a scale drawing. You can hand this in for review and definitely add different components as you go on. But NewSeptic saves your progress, so you save your progress. You can always come right back to this point and edit it at any time. So I'm going to jump to the other tab and check out our other aspect of the design plan, which is our product specs, pressure calculations, materials estimate, different aspects of the design plan process that need to be generated. And we're going to do that through this window. And we're almost done here. We have the 32-foot radius spray nozzles selected. I'm going to jump back to the map, and it looked like we had a 40-foot force main. So I'm going to change this here to 40 or 50. I'm sorry, 50. Save that off. And really the only other thing to do would be to enter our level readings. And I'm just going to enter in some generic level readings from the map. And this is definitely something that, you could definitely do this on site. You could conduct level readings, differential leveling, whatever you're using, to the level of accuracy that you need to achieve. But NewSeptic, will allow you to put in whatever format you want. So if I jump back to hit the back button, and I am zoomed out here pretty full extent, and I can see that this contour line, sometimes they come back, but yeah, it's 1130. And that looks to be like almost right on the spray head. For now, I'm just going to put that as a preliminary elevation of the spray head, 1130. So I'm just going to come in here and type this spray head at grade, and I just type out 1130 foot. And just going to kind of keep track of this. And then I'm at the dose tank elevation. It looks like I'm a foot higher than the spray head itself. So I'm going to put 1131 for the dose tank at grade. And then for the house at grade, it looks like we're at 1134. So the contour kind of comes in here, and it's like right around 1134 for the elevation there. So I'll write that house at grade, 1134. So these are the spray head at grade, the dose tank at grade, or the tank at grade, and the house at grade are really the key data that NewSeptic really looks for. So if you open this level readings form, NewSeptic will ask you what the house at grade elevation was. And we had said that it was 1134, And if you hit the tab button, it'll jump right to the next value that you need to check out. So the spray head at grade for the spray head number 1 was 1130. Now we said our at grade tank elevation was 1131. So right now the NewSeptic had calculated some default tank, like this tank elevation, where we can start to see that at 50 foot to get the 1% slope back to the dose tank, we would need 0.5 roughly foot of fall back to the dose tank. Now we can see that the tank at grade is higher than the spray head at grade. So the spray head at grade is actually lower. And then if you consider that the spray head unit itself is delivered in 6 foot sections, 6 to 5 foot sections, that the 3 foot below grade elevation would be 1127. So to get 1127 minus the 0.521, you would need that elevation to be the inlet of the dose tank, at least. So some dose tanks, the outlet and the inlet are the same. But setting that here, basically we can just set that for now, which you can always come back and change. We can just set it maybe to 1126.2. So NewSeptic has all the tank dimensions in it, and it's filling in the tank bottom and the pump outlet. So what NewSeptic does is calculates the static lift. Now as we hit save, it'll calculate that based on the height of the spray head and the pump outlet. So this distance here will be used to calculate the static lift. So now we would set the sewer main length, and I think we set 36. Save that. And we can see our static lift has changed. And now what we can do is we can set our control panel to the wastewater solutions model, save it. And we have this little giant pump that was selected. Now these are all pumps that would work for a particular application. And the way these are selected is we have our gallons per minute operating point and gallons per minute total dynamic head operating point. This is the anticipated intersection of our pump curve and our systems curve. Now what that means is basically the system requires a minimum of 6.2 gallons per minute and a minimum of total dynamic head of 104.5. And that's based off of the spray head itself requires a pressure, and the friction losses in the pump network, like your force main, your fittings, these all equate to friction losses, which is measured in feet, and that's portrayed right here with this value of required feet and friction losses to overcome. So what we can do is we can select a different pump if we want. All these pumps will work. I'm just going to select the Little Giant 10 because I think it's a more popular pump. NewSeptic will by default select the pump that most closely matches up the anticipated operating point with the requirements. So there are 2 points, 2 curves, and as they intersect, NewSeptic will select the pump with the lowest gallons per minute. So it looks good to me. I can click Get Design Plan. All this information is now saved. As you hit Get Design Plan, it saves the information. And as you click Download Plan, NewSeptic has over 1,700 templates in the system, and we select the proper templates and fill it in with your data that you generated from your site. This is the full plan. This is the title page. You have a hydraulic profile, a cross-section, the dosing and pressure network calculations, the soil report. As you can see, we didn't fill in many details from the soil report. We have the calculations page, and we actually have this link here you can click on for the detailed description of the calculations. And we have the construction notes themselves. So this is a full design plan, and you could definitely submit this for review. This is something that gives the users of NewSeptic a lot of power. And if you have any questions, if you want us to do an on-site demo, or if you want the program changed at all, just contact us, let us know. We'll make it work for you. Thanks a lot.